Shabbat Shalom. It is always a delight to join together in prayer on Shabbat evening. I know that we've got a couple of folks joining us here live in the temple sanctuary, and I know quite a few more who are joining us virtually, live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Zoom. And I know that there are many people who join us after the fact, who participate in these services after they are live, but are still connected to our community, and we welcome you as well. We open our service, as always, with a song, recognizing how wonderful it is that we are able to be together this evening. Hinne ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinne ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinne ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. I'm being told we're having a technical issue. We're going to wait just one moment to make sure that everybody can participate in our service from home as well. But it is nice to be here this evening. It is nice to be here this evening as we join together in prayer. There is something refreshing about speaking and preaching and praying to a room with people in it. And it is always lovely to be joining together. I'm waiting for the thumbs up from our fantastic crew in the back. That's Amadeus and Karsten, who in the back who make all of this technology work. And I have just enough understanding of it to be really, really impressed by what they do each and every week to make these services possible. Being told they're waiting until they can hear us on Zoom. Our service will continue in just a moment with Hine Mato. Once I get the thumbs up from our technical staff that we are indeed able to hear me. While Amadeus, once you do get the Zoom audio working, would you bring up the house audio a tiny bit as well? I think that'll make it easier for folks who are here to be able to hear me a little bit more clearly. Does that sound a little better? I was asking if it sounds a little bit better. Now, it does sound a little bit better? Okay. I'll be sure to project and speak clearly. I know that makes a big difference. I've been known to mumble from time to time. I've been known to mumble and I've been known to ramble. What's that? Oh yes, absolutely. I think we're still having trouble with the Zoom audio, which unfortunately, as soon as we get everything running smoothly, one of these technologies changes and then we've got to find a way to change with it. Do you have Passover plans? Do you have plans for Passover? Not this year. I'll be doing, actually, my sister is leading a Seder that Linda and I will be joining by Zoom. Yeah, my sister's in Colorado. She's in Boulder, actually, um, and my parents are nearby there. So they may be joining together in person. They're nearby, near Boulder, near her. Yeah, not near me, unfortunately. Yes. Oh, yes. Years ago in Denver. Yes. Okay. Oh, she's in Arkansas. Okay. Well, I know quite a few people who are doing Seder over Zoom, certainly myself included. And by the way, you don't need to have a minyan for a Passover Seder. You don't need to have 10. You can do a Seder even with just one. You can do a Seder on your own. You don't need to have 10 people. Although, of course, the more the merrier. And in fact, you've heard this idea, the more the merrier. That's actually built into Jewish law when it comes to Passover. Yes. We're pretty flexible about the start time. I mean, although by the time the service starts, it may actually be 3 stars in the sky by the time we light the candles. But usually we start pretty promptly. Sometimes you might be, 2 or 4 or 5 minutes late, but um, we're limited by the technology just like anybody else is. Uh-huh. Well, yeah. Yes, it's one of the few times during the year, and it doesn't happen every year, where there are special traditions that only apply when when you have a Chag that runs or Shabbat that runs into a Chag or vice versa. Usually it's Shabbat that runs into a Chag, and there are there's special rituals that you do in advance, um, called an Eruv or a type of Eruv, so that you can actually cook and have your food for the Seder, because normally you wouldn't be able to prepare on Shabbat. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You've got Shabbat, and then you've got Chag, and then you've got a second day of Chag because we're in the diaspora, so we double most of the Chag days, not all of them. So yeah, that would be 3 days with no. Yes, Monday night would be, if you're Orthodox, Monday night would be the day that you, after sundown, exactly, that you can finally I don't know if you're hearing me at home yet, but Sylvia said that's why she's reformed. Here, I'm going to check in with these guys at the back because it's now we're good. So the audio is working, but the sound is not clear. Should I change oh, I can't change the channel. You know, I did start having an issue with Zoom just in the past week or so and the virtual cable. So I wonder if I only had the problem recently. I thought that it was something I was doing wrong, but maybe it may be a Zoom update that changed the way that the audio works. Well, anyway, I apologize for the late start for the service. Uh, sometimes it just can't be helped, but it is nice that we're now all together, joining together. And actually, we have some guests who are just coming in. I shouldn't say guests. We have some worshipers who are just coming in. You're right on time. I don't mean to draw attention to you because we're just about to start. We were holding the service for you. I'm kidding. We had some technical issues, so our service started a little bit late, but please come in, join us as we join together with the words of Hine Matov, how good and how wonderful it is that we're able to pray together in unity. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to live lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak. Let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. Now, at this time, we have a few guests. Maybe I should invite I can't say birthday girl, I'm off one day. Maybe I can invite the Algranades and Himes to come up to lead us in the candle blessing. Would that be all right? You can come up together. The candles are just over here, and you'll see the prayer on the screen in front of you, although I know you know it. Just over here. Shabbat Shalom. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Amen. Shakoach. Shakoach. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, either way, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. As we prepare to welcome the Sabbath bride, the spirit of Shabbat, that welcoming, comforting, peaceful spirit which joins us each and every week, we sing this song of mystical origin, welcoming the Sabbath bride. When we reach the final verse, we rise and turn toward the entrance. For those of you who are here, that's at the back. For those of you at home, you'll turn towards whatever entryway through which an honored guest would enter your sacred space from which you are praying this evening. And by the way, there are many ways to designate a sacred space at home. I hope that you are finding ways to make your home prayer space sacred, either by lighting candles along with us in the synagogue, by using something special to mark the space, a special tablecloth, or even special clothes. I know folks that dress up for Shabbat services as though they were in the synagogue, even though they are at home, and it really does make a difference. Not to me, because I won't see you unless you stick around for the oneg, which I hope you will, but it does make a difference for how you feel during Shabbat and making this space sacred and special for your service. If it is difficult for anyone to physically rise, you may remain seated while rising in your heart. And as we all rise, when we reach that final verse of this song, to direct our hearts toward God and to welcome the Sabbath bride. But first join with me in the words of Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likat kala yalalai yalalai yalalai. This is a different tune. Hold on, I know too many different tunes. Once I get one in my head, I get mixed up. Lecha Dodi likat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shemu tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likat kala, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, יהי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תעריצי. על יריש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Please be seated. שלום עליכם מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון. מי מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. בואכם לשלום מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. מי מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. מי מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. מי מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום עליכם מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון. מי מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. It is evening, and children slowly dream away the storms of the day. It is evening, and stars glow gently in the heavens. Can we understand a dream, find a net to capture the meaning of a glowing star? What bridge spans the vast space we must cross to reach understanding? How small are we who attempt the journey? And yet somehow we learn to find our glory in a brave and endless struggle to comprehend life's eternal mysteries. We are voyagers in an infinite sea, our destination always beyond the horizon, but we are voyagers. יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, בעלמא דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהא שמך אבא מברך, לעלם ולעל מעל מיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירה בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. יאללה לי לי, יאללה לי לי, יאללה לי לי, יאללה לי לי. We rise as we turn towards God, towards the east, Yerushalayim, the ancient connection between our people and God. We turn towards God wherever we sense God's presence as we join our prayers with one another, linking our prayers together, linking the words of our prayers together with this Baruch prayer. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Amcha Amcha. Please join with me in the English. You keep loving us as you have always loved us, Adonai, our God. You impart to us Torah and mitzvot, to know reality and justice. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we are to rest for the night, when we are to rise for the day, we will make your principles our conversation. This will give us steady joy as we talk Torah and plan to do mitzvot. This is what we live for. This is what keeps us going. Day and night we will ponder their meaning. Just keep on all along loving us. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, Adonai, who loves your people, Israel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Yevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך, ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. We continue together in the English. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neder v'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha נדר בקודש, נורא אילות עושה הים לפני משה ומרים זה לי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Grant, eternal God, that we may lie down in peace, and let us rise up to a life renewed. The words of the Hashkivenu prayer are a prayer for God to watch over us through the long and sometimes lonely hours of the night. This year has been a very long night, and it is still yet some hours before the dawn. And so we ask in this darkness for God to watch over us and to grant us peace. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu lechaim. Ushmor teitenu uvoenu lechaim ushalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu lechaim. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomrenu lechaim. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אות היא לעולם, אות היא לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We rise now once again, as we once again turn our hearts toward God, as we enter our own personal and communal prayers directly in the presence of our eternal God. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi ki tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכה חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. תומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממיט ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. You may be seated. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol ha-shalom. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol ha-shalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael, bechol עת ובכל שעה, בשלומך. Shalom Av al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Av al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, havarech et amo Yisrael, bashalom. We continue now in silent prayer. Israel, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 This week's Torah portion is called Tzav, and it deals with some of the more obscure types of rituals, offerings, and sacrifices that the Torah has to offer. Actually, the book of Leviticus has a lot of that. There are many long passages that discuss in detail the priestly rites of our ancient Israelite ancestors. In this sense, the passage from this week is not so unique. It discusses the 5 major types of offerings: the burnt offering, the meal offering, the purgation offering, the reparation offering, and the well-being offering. Each one is described in terms of the details of what is brought to the offering, who conducts the ritual, what they should be wearing, whether the offering is meat or bread or flour, oil, and most importantly, who gets to eat it. I mean, after all, these are still Jews we're talking about. Of course, there has to be some discussion, being Jews and all, of who gets to eat the brisket and who gets the best cut of the brisket. Well, much has been written about the nuance of these different types of offerings and how they relate to one another, or what their subtleties might contribute to today's understanding of our world. Well, in a move that I'm most likely going to regret, I, on the other hand, would like to relate it to an even more obscure piece of text. I know. Well, the Talmud, as you know, is the oral Torah. It comprises the instructions and discussions relating to every matter discussed in the 5 books of Moses, as well as many other stories and teachings. It's divided into 6 broad categories called orders, and all in all, there are 63 tractates which make up those 6 orders. Something like the size of a set of encyclopedias. The Talmud takes 7 years just to read through and study once. So, the Torah portion discusses who gets which cut of the brisket, while the Talmud might discuss what happens when the wrong person gets the brisket. Okay, to be totally accurate, the Talmud never uses the word brisket, but it does talk about the best and fattiest cuts of meat. So we're not that far off. What I'm interested in this evening is a tractate from the Talmud called Horayot, which means decision. Even though it's one of the shortest tractates of Talmud, it's also considered one of the most difficult and technical. What's interesting about it, however, is the way that it discusses decisions. In particular, it discusses what happens when leaders make the wrong decision. What happens to a community when their leaders tell them that a certain cut of brisket is okay to eat, but it turns out later that it was forbidden? Who's to blame, the leader or the community? Well, the rabbis of the Talmud go on for several pages discussing what should happen and who's to blame if somebody accidentally eats a cut of meat that's been forbidden. I'll spare you the details, but I will share with you a couple of the most important conclusions. First, if an authority tells an individual that something is permitted, then the individual is not responsible for acting on that information. If the leaders go back later and correct the information, then the individual who made the mistake should repent. The same is equally true if an individual is merely following the example of a leader, whether that leader explicitly stated that what they were doing was okay or not. Second, if the leaders cause a majority of the community to go astray, then it is in fact considered their fault. It is not a result of confusion, but rather it is like a deliberate act. Now keep in mind, all of these rulings were still related in the Talmud to whether or not a particular cut of meat is allowed. However, we know that the rabbis were not only concerned with proper barbecue distribution. In the real world, the decisions of leaders have far-reaching consequences, and sometimes those consequences are trivial. However, more often than not, they can be matters of grave consequence. The Talmud tells us that our leaders are responsible for the words that they say. We can't always blame them if a single individual misinterprets their intentions. However, we should expect them to clearly and unequivocally set the record straight afterwards. However, when they act deliberately to lead people away from justice, holiness, and peace, our leaders must be held accountable. We live in a day and age that is often ruled by rhetoric. The loudest voices get amplified, and the voices of reason and truth often relegated to the sidelines of the discourse. Many of our leaders treat their rhetoric like a game, with winners and losers, two sides competing to see who comes out on top no matter what the cost. The Talmud tells us that even when it comes to trivial matters, the words of our leaders matter. We know this to be true in our world. Words are not pieces in a chess game. They have consequences. When a leader makes a mistake, they're responsible for the outcomes and correcting the record. However, there is an exception to this rule. According to the Talmud, if any leader issues a statement that is so fundamentally wrong it should be obvious, the Talmud gives the example of a court of rabbis declaring an idol acceptable for worship, something so outlandish it could not possibly be true. In such a case, God holds the followers of that leader responsible. When our leaders, especially the leaders that we most support and follow, find themselves going fundamentally astray, it is our job as their followers to hold them accountable and to lead them back to the right path. Of course, that's the real challenge. We know that it is all too easy to call out the leaders we disagree with. Yes, it's easy to draw attention to the careless or malicious words of our rivals' leaders. It's not so easy to hold up a mirror to the leaders who we cherish ourselves. But our tradition is clear. Words matter. Words have consequences, and leaders are responsible for their words and when their words cause their followers to transgress. We are not sheep or lemmings. Ultimately, we are responsible for our leaders. Or then again, maybe the rabbis really were just trying to talk about some brisket. Shabbat Shalom. we take a moment at this time in our service to say a prayer of healing for all of those who are in need of healing. In particular, our community prays for God's healing presence to be with Tal Hazon, Jacob Hazon, Meir Ben Esther, James Dutremaine, Yolanda Easley, Oscar Garcia, Yosef Ben Matilde, Caleb Ben Yaakov Micha, Robert Berlin, Victoria Fishman, Tchoni Bat Malka, Alan Fishman, Ilan Ben Tchoni, Ilanit Bat Ruth, Devralea Bat Zipa, Jeff Gabriel, Pat Blum, Conchis Espino, Mike Ginsberg, Norma Einhorn, Patty Landsman, Eliana Bat Sarava Avraham, Neshama Bat Sarava Avraham, Judy Franklin, Yudashka Elka, and Stuart Klein. If there are any names that you would like to add this evening, please share them with me now. We also ask for God's healing to be with all of the victims of the Boulder shooting earlier this week, with all of those who were injured, and with the families of the victims. May God watch over them and protect them and give them peace. And as always, we ask for God's healing presence to be with those who watch over us, our first responders and members of our armed services. May God watch over them as they watch over us. Please join with me in this Misha Berach prayer. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. May God's healing come swiftly and soon to all those who are in need of God's healing, as we say, Amen. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and in spirit. Amen. Avinu Shabashamayim Tzur Yisrael v'Goalo Barech et Medinat Yisrael Reishit Tzmichat Geulatenu. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. At this time, we rise as we approach the end of our service for the Aleinu, once again, turning our hearts toward God. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קורעים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושבי קרוב השמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום השבות אל לבבך. אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we love. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. At this time, we remember all of those who we have lost in our own community in the past year, including Antonio Diaz, Leon Wernick, Myrna Levine, Charlene Hertz, Sergei Bernier, Eugenio Colon, Norma Rabinovich, Shendel Bat Avram Bafegi, Rodrigo Diaz, John Brown, Dora Goldberg Friedman, Zipporah Bat Avraham, Lionel Getz, Labesh Yehuda Ben Pinchas, Lenora Nodi Pearson Gent, and Dr. Marco Antonio Treu Ruiseco, as well as those whose yahrzeits occur this week, including Luisa Perez and Nina Bitten. If you know of any names that should be added to our public prayers for memory or healing, please reach out to me or Maria in the office during the week so that we may include their names here. If you are in a period of mourning, please rise at this time and say the name of the person who you are remembering. You may also post their name in the chat, saying it aloud or saying it in your own heart. Now, as a community, we rise with you. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה. בעלמא דברך גאותיו ימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world, to which we say, Amen. Please be seated. We do have some announcements this evening, although I think I left the printed sheet in my office. Thank you, Karsten. God bless you. I always have a backup on here, but that wasn't popping up either. So welcome. By the way, if anyone who is joining us regularly for Shabbat services is a board member, we always welcome board members to join me here on the Bima. There's a rumor that I get lonely up here all by myself, and there's a seat here available for any of our congregational leaders who do so much for this community. We all have a responsibility under Jewish law to protect one another. With this in mind, if you're planning to attend services in person, please keep the following in mind. Anyone experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 should continue attending services online. Wearing a mask covering your nose and mouth is required at all times when in the building. Although we are eager to see and spend time with one another, social distancing is required at all times. No lingering will be permitted either before or after services in the sanctuary or foyer. Children must be with parents at all times. Although Rabbi Farb, me, wishes to spend time with all of you on Shabbat, and I do, it is not possible at this time. I am, however, available for individual appointments on weekdays and evenings. Please replace prayer books, kippot, and talitot on the table outside of the door on the left here for cleaning. Please follow all posted guidelines and announcements. Upcoming events at Temple Emanuel. As always, tomorrow we have Saturday morning Torah study beginning at 9 a.m. That is on Zoom only. Followed by the Saturday morning service, which is at 10:30. That is available by Zoom, Facebook Live, YouTube, or in person here in the sanctuary. All services are followed by an Oneg social on Zoom to spend time together as a community. This week there will be no Sunday school or high school program. There will be no introduction to Judaism this Sunday either. Happy Passover, Chag, Pesach, Sameach to all of you. Enjoy time with your families this weekend as insofar as you're able to, whether it is by Zoom or in person or phone calls or however it is that you are staying in touch with family in these times. On Sunday evening, we will, however, celebrate our second night Passover Seder with a chocolate dessert Seder. This outdoor socially distanced Passover celebration is almost here. Zoom participants are also welcome. If you RSVP'd, then your chocolate Seder plate is already reserved. It is just $5 each at the door or in advance. Sunday, March 28th, in person at 6:30 p.m. on the Temple Emanuel lawn, just behind me here, or pick up in advance at 4 p.m. here at the temple. Birthdays and simchas. Very special happy birthday wishes this week. On Sunday was Nicole Silberman's birthday. Happy birthday, Nicole. Haley Dutremaine was on Tuesday. Happy birthday to Haley. And just yesterday was Ilanit's birthday. Very happy birthday to you. I'm excited to see you here in the temple. It's been a while, hasn't it? Does it feel good to be back? Oh, goodness. Well, may you be blessed, all of you, with a year of joy, of prosperity, a year of growth, a year of self-discovery. May you be blessed with a year of freedom as we enter this season of our freedom, Pesach. May you enjoy birthday cake, since this is this year you can actually enjoy a birthday cake because of where Passover falls. And also a very special birthday this coming Sunday to Dante Moreno. Happy 8th birthday. You will not be able to enjoy regular birthday cake. You will enjoy a Passover birthday cake for your very special birthday coming up this Sunday, Dante. Happy birthday to all of you. A very special happy anniversary to Aaron and Danielle Fox. Celebrated their anniversary on Monday. And by the way, if you know of any simchas in the community, such as births, new homes, promotions, or awards, please contact the temple office or Rabbi Farb, that's me, so that we can celebrate the blessing together. Shabbat Shalom. Our closing song this evening is Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chefza Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nara Adon Olam V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh V'hu yeh b'tifara Adon Olam Hashem Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chefza Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam V'hu Echad V'ein Sheni Lehamshilo Leachbira Adon Olam בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה אדון עולם, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצוחב לי בעת צרה אדון עולם, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביומך אדון עולם, השם הלך בטרם כה, יציר נברא לעת נשא, וחפץ כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, בידו הפקיד רוחי, בעת תישן ויעירה אדון עולם, ואם רוחי גוויעתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא אדון עולם, השם הלך בטרם כה, יציר נברא לעת נשא, וחפץ כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם. שבת שלום.